What's up everyone, it's Devon here with another episode of Pokemon Duel. So, I've watched Showtime's video, and I have watched Giggity Gaming's video, and I'm like, they didn't got all the cheese. They did not got all the cheese, so I'm gonna do this as well. I have a list of the top 10 cheeses in Pokemon Duel history. We're gonna take a look after we open these two boxes here. I'm waiting to open, and then we're gonna get right into it. So let me know down in the description, what is your favorite type of cheese? Did I miss someone? Did I miss a type of cheese? And make sure to make your little top 10 or maybe top 5 down in the comments. I would appreciate that, so I can take a look at it and maybe improve some things if I need to, if I really mess it up, okay? And thank you guys for making me hit the 100 subscriber mark. Really exciting. Thank you so much for all the support. Let me know, what do you guys want as a 100 subscriber special? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know. So I will start off these two boxes here, and then we're gonna get right into it. So let's start these two boxes. So what do you guys actually think about the wheel box? Do you think it actually is enough? We'll find out really soon after you guys let me know. So see you guys when I am with the PowerPoint presentation. Starting off at number 10, we have the Epilog cheese. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, what this cheese is all about is that you use the refrigerator plate, which turns all Pokemon on the field and also in the Ultra Space into Ice-type mons. That doesn't seem like a big deal after all, but if you take a look at Epilog, his ability allows him to swap places with an adjacent Ice-type Pokemon. And you are actually allowed to move after that, because it says before making an NP move. And I also tested it out, and yes, you are allowed to move after the swap. But most of the times you don't really need to do that, because you will be wanting to try to swap with your opponent's goalie. Now, there are some pros and some cons for this. I mean, the pros are, most people don't actually know this strategy because you don't see it that often. And another pro is that Epilog has a huge dodge, which make it have a huge survivability against any other mons. So if it's on its way to the opponent's goal, it will have the chance of surviving a couple of rolls, which is important because it's a 1MP figure, which is one of the downsides of Epilog. So you want it to survive like 1 or 2 turns before you get to the goal. So that's why the 1MP figure is not really that big of a deal. But when I go to the next one, you really need to get it done by 9 turns, actually 5 of your own turns, if the opposing goalie is not is not an Ice type. I'm sorry, because if it's not an Ice type, you cannot switch with it. So you need to get it done before the refrigerator plate becomes inactive again. So that will also make sure that you have a good setup before you activate the refrigerator plate, which is also one of the downsides of using this. And you mainly want to use Epilog for the cheese, so if the cheese doesn't work out, you are stuck with poor Epilog forever. So that's why I put it at number 10. So I would probably rate this cheese, I think, like 4 out of 10. The Jet Kick. So the Jet Kick doesn't seem like cheese at first, but if the opponent surrounds his goal by 2 mons and you make the opponent land purple attack against the Jet Kick, you can actually take the goal. You will not get surrounded, you can take the goal. I mean, that's cool. That's actually fantastic. But what if your own goal is surrounded and one of the mons that surrounded your goal is like something with a lot of purple, like a Cosmog or a Sableye? You just max revive your Blaziken and put him against him and pray for the Jet Kick against the purple. And if you get it, you can save your goal. And then again, you will not get surrounded. You will kill the mon and then move 2 steps forward or 2 steps backward. So that is a really unique thing about this cheese. But if you do not land the attack against a purple attack, but against a white or a golden attack, you will probably be in a very bad spot because it is a very low damaging attack. And it is also mandatory. That means that you have to use your jet kick. If you don't want to use it, well, that's bad luck for you because you have to use it. If you get the jet kick, you have to use it. Even if you're gonna get surrounded, you have to use it. Just like fly away. Just like fly. You have to use it. It's not optional, it's mandatory. Which is probably one of the worst downsides of this cheese. Also, jet kick is not really a big side of the wheel, and you're probably not looking into expanding it either. And then again, it does not work against figures whose ability includes the battle opponents of this Pokemon cannot move by attacks other than the effect of this Pokemon. I just found a spelling mistake. Sorry about that. Yeah, and that means that like figures like Lunala, Solgaleo, Mega Gengar, and now even Growlithe can like disable this cheese because they cannot allow you to move after the battle. So it can get countered by some mons, so you need to keep that in mind. I'll rate Jet Kick about 5 out of 10 maybe. And now the balls, so shout out to Bertros because Bertros is actually really good with this deck. I will put his Twitch link into the description. Bertros is the man. And he uses this deck a lot of the time and actually he's pretty good with it. But I'm not putting this pretty high on the list because it is pretty limited. And it requires some setup, you know? At first, you can actually create multiple win conditions. Because you can set the Voltorbs up that. So you can like strategically like find out how your opponent will play and when and where the opponents will be knocked out. So you can put the Voltorb next to your opponent's goalie, but you can also put it next to your entry points where opposing Pokemon might actually be sitting on. So you can actually knock them off your entry points as well. So it has multiple functions. Then again, it doesn't really rely on spinning in a specific attack, so RNGs it out on this one. For example, like Jet Kick or we'll have some other ones that actually rely on spinning some different attacks. While the balls do not really require you landing a specific move, but rather just using your ability. That is nice because you don't need luck to pull off this strategy. You just need to have an opponent that doesn't know about it. So that's also one of the cons. If your opponent knows the strategy, it's hard to win because the balls aren't really strong. They don't have high damaging attacks. I mean, the 40 is... the Shock Blast is nice because you can kill the opponent if he hits over 101. But you will die in the process as well. So that's not really a really reliable strategy. But on the other hand, the balls are 3 MP, so it does have a lot of mobility in this deck. I would rate this deck, this cheese, for about 5 out of 10 again. My personal favorite, but not really high on the list, Revert Cheese. You all know about Rotom, right? Rotom is 3 MP and can move through other figures. Pretty OP, right? Has a lot of survivability. Yes. But the thing about Revert is that if you move your Heat Rotom, Mo Rotom, or whatever Rotom they will put out, doesn't really matter. If you spin your Revert and your opponent's goal is empty, and it's not surrounded by two opposing mons, you can go back to normal Rotom if you spin the blue Revert and then move on the opponent's goal. That is really nice. And on the other hand, it is also optional. So you don't have to use it. If you get the Revert, you can cancel it. That's all good. You don't have to use it. So that's also nice. So you can actually keep down for yourself. When do I want to use it? Do I want to use it now? No. Then just don't use it. You can cancel it, which is all good. And it also doesn't require a lot of setup. You only need to place the Heat Rotom within 3 steps of the goal. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to do anything else. You don't need to use any plates. You don't have to use anything else. So that is one of the good parts of this cheese. But What is not really good about this cheat is that revert is really small. It's actually about 24 slides of the wheel. That's like 1 in 4, which is not really reliable, and it also gets countered by Terrakion. I will rate this cheese for about 5 out of 10 as well. Now, Giggity Gaming's personal favorite. I will link Giggity Gaming in the description as well, alongside with Birdsross. Now let's talk about counterattack. Counterattack is a plate that you can use for offense and for defense. It's probably most effective for offensive plays, but if you need to defend your goal and you have both of your entry points capped, you can still go back and attack one of their threats. So, but what is not really nice about it, that it still uses up one of your plate slots. And this is a plate that really relies on your opponent. If your opponent knows the strategy, you're going to be between a rock and a hard place. The plate will be kind of useless actually. And it does require a good amount of setup, and it also requires risk. You need to risk that the opponent doesn't know about it. And if the opponent does know about it, you have both your entry points capped and you're in a bad spot. So that's why I put this plate at number 6. It doesn't rely on spinning a specific attack, while Jet Kick and Revert do. So that's why it gets a little higher on the list, but it's still not in the top 5 because of that reason. So I'll rate this one 6 out of 10. Typhoon Virizion. You all know this for back in the days. Back in the days this was really good. Back in the days I might put this at number 2 or number 1. But we'll get to that why it's not that high anymore. We'll get to that soon. But let's talk about what is still good about Typhoon Slash. It actually makes your opponent defend with 2 goalies, because otherwise you can still use the swap. So that allows you to put the pressure on, because they're not allowed to use all 4 lanes, because they have to defend with 2 mons, so you can put some extra pressure on with the flanks, on the flanks. It is a purple move, and Virizion is grass type, so you can potentially boost it up by 1 star from Concentrated Fertilizer or an X special attack. The X special attack doesn't require Virizion to be grass type. That works on every single mon, but the Concentrated Fertilizer only works on grass type mons, and you actually get a plus 20 damage buff from that as well. Then again, it is optional. You don't have to use it. Just like Revert and unlike Jet Kick, you don't have to use it. If you find yourself being in a bad spot, don't use it. You don't have to use it. And unlike Revert, Typhoon Slash is a really huge part of the wheel. At level 1, it is like almost 1/3 of the wheel. So I think at level 10, I think you can get it up to like 37, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think 37 is the max for Typhoon Slash, because I think it starts at 28. But correct me if I'm wrong. So that's pretty large. Then what is not really nice about it is that it gets destroyed by gold attacks. And Blaziken kills this strategy with his eyes closed. Blaziken has Jet Kick for purple, and Cyclone Kick basically kills everything. So it is a little bit fragile. And it also, just like the Jet Kick, it does not work against figures like Lunala and I don't know, I can come up to Solgaleo. Because you're not allowed to move any other than the attacks of the opponent. I'm sorry about that. The Swap Spot is at number 4. You probably did not expect Swap Spot to be at number 4, but now we have Rotom, now we have the Coco, now we have a lot more mons that benefit from this plate. We also have, in the UC Hall, you have a lot of Swablues, so that's why I use Shuppet with the Phantom Energy, with the Swap Spot, to get rid of all those Swablues. So it's not only for in League, but it's also for in the UC Hall to banish Swablues if you want. Actually, this plate, just like counterattack, you can use it multiple times depending on how many swap spots you include in your deck. unlike Revert, once you do it, you need to use another plate to get turned back into a household form, so you can get the Revert again. While Swap Spot, you don't have to. You can do it whenever you want, as long as you have the amount of plates in it. It is actually a +1 MP plate, so that's why I put it higher than Counterattack, because with Counterattack it is also a +1 MP plate, but you have to have two opposing mons on your entry points. With Swap Spot, you basically get a +1 MP as well. And you don't have to have two opposing Pokemon on your entry points. You actually don't have to do that. You can use this plate whenever you want. That's why it's like a better version of Counterattack. I mean, Counterattack is a bit more cheesy, because you don't have to have a figure next to it. You could just put it you could just put a 2OP figure on the entry point and just make sure that he falls for the bait. But Swap Spot is also better in some other. You can get surround kills with this, which can be really crucial at the start of this game, where you can get a figure advantage. But on the other hand, if the opponent knows the strategy, the same goes for Counterattack. You have one wasted plate slot. And it also uses up one of your plates. It's not part of an ability or an attack, so you have to use a plate slot. And if your opponent knows the strategy, that plate slot is basically wasted. Beautiful. Then we have the teleport and the squared attack. Why did I put these two together? Why, Diviny, why did you not make two separate slides for the two separate mons? One slide for Gonatel and one slide for Cosmog. Well, I can explain that. Cosmog, and you can put Cosmog on the opponent's entry point, and you can keep two of your own entry points. And if you have Gonatel on the field, your opponent cannot leave the goal, because then Cosmog can try to get the teleport. And they also are not really likely to attack into Gonatel either, because then Gonatel can switch to the goalie. So if your opponent wants to defend with this, they actually have to defend with 3 mons, which is huge. So you can put a lot of pressure on them. And then also, teleport on Cosmog is huge. Teleport is like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's like 36 or 40 wheel slides. So that's really, really big. And with Lele, it can be buffed up to a 4-star purple, and Squared Attack can be buffed up to a 3-star purple. But on the other hand, Squared Attack, as I said, is pretty small, and it requires a ton of setup. I mean, the counter attack requires some setup, the balls require setup, but I think this one requires most of the setup. You need to have 3 entry points. You need to have Cosmog at the entry point to make it the best effective cheese strategy. That's why it's not at number 1. If this deck didn't need to require a lot of setup, this will be at number 1. That's why it's at number 2. And I would rate this one by probably like 7 out of 10. 7.5 out of 10. And what is at number 1? Tell me, what is at number 1? It is the Houndoom and the Flamesphere cheese. You guys probably don't know about this, but I'm having a lot of fun with this. As I said, most people don't know about this. And what this actually is that if you get a neutral turn against an opposing mon, and you have the Flamesphere, which allows you to move through burn-type Pokemon, burn figures. So, for example, if you are on the opponent's entry point and a Mimikyu is next to it, which actually happened by the way, then I attack the Mimikyu. Mimikyu got 30 against my 40. So Mimikyu loses its disguise. But guess what? Mimikyu gets burned after that. And my opponent didn't saw it coming. So he moved like, I think he had a Gyarados. No, he had a Blaziken, and he moved his Blaziken like 2 spaces forward. And because I'm allowed to move through burn type Pokemon, I can move my Houndour threw that burnt Mimikyu onto the opponent's goal. So that is really cheesy. That is so cheesy. And if the cheese doesn't work out, if your opponent knows about the cheese, you can still try to get some burns, and which actually helps your fire squad if you're running a Houndoom. And it also really synergizes with Arcanine, because Arcanine can shift burnt Mons' wheel by 1 segment clockwise. And it doesn't require a lot of setup. You only need to have Houndour, you only need to have the Flame Sphere, and you only need Houndour to be in a good position. You don't need to do anything else. You don't need to do anything else. And by the way, burn cripples a lot of figures like Lunala and stuff. So that even if you don't have Arcanine on the field, you can still ruin a lot of figures' potential. So you can get rid of some major threats. But on the other hand, Houndoom dies a lot of the times. Survivability is meh. It's meh. And if you don't have activated Flame Sphere yet, you lose a lot of your wheel. You don't get Roar, and you have like almost half of your wheel will be a miss. But I'll still rate this one 8 out of 10. So that, my friends, is my list. You have your own list, I have my list. So let me know down in the comments what do you think is the correct list, and what do you guys think is the most cheesiest way to get an advantage in a game of Pokemon Duel. And that, my friends, is where I'm gonna cut it right here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this educational video of Pokemon Duel. See you guys into the next one. Peace out.